Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome back to the Football Postcast here on the Racing Post. It's an absolute delight to have you back with us once again. We're going to be taking you through all of the week's football and hopefully bringing you some of the best tips from our top tipsters. We've got Mark Langdon and Dan Childs in the studio with Paddy Power's Jonathan Smith on Skype today. We've got a really good show ahead. Let's get straight into it then, gents. I never thought I'd be saying this, but we're watching football on Amazon. How have you found it, Mark?
Not great. I mean, not their production. I thought their production was fine. It's just, my TV doesn't pick up the Wi-Fi great, so I ended up, because kids are watching YouTube and all this other nonsense in the living room. So, I've had to go.
So you're telling me that they had the living room and you got kicked out?
You haven't got kids, have you?
No.
Oh, right, okay. You'd do anything to keep the peace. But no, so I've watched it on the laptop. That's just not how I want to consume my football, really. So, I think once everybody goes smart TV and Wi-Fi is brilliant, it'll be okay. I mean, I got a 99p free trial, not free trial, but 99p feels like a free trial. I've done some Christmas shopping. Tottenham got beat. It's not the best. It's not the best.
Dan, what about you? What games have you enjoyed watching this week?
Well, I don't know if I enjoyed it. I watched. I solved the problem because my 8-year-old son is a Watford fan, so I just let him stay up late from school, and we watched the Watford Leicester game. So,
okay.
But that's where the enjoyment kind of stopped really once the kickoff started, because they lost, as you know, yet again, and they sort of tailed off.
They played a bit better than they have
done.
They
did play
in
a bit
recent
better,
weeks.
yeah. It's hard to be positive about the team at the bottom when they keep losing every week. But yeah, the performance was an improvement. Yeah,
like Mark.
The production was alright, wasn't it, of Amazon?
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I watched the Norwich Southampton game, and it was. I mean, we lost, but the production of it was good.
Yeah.
Did you get any Christmas shopping done, like Mark?
No, just watched it on the telly.
He didn't even realise his wife's got Amazon Prime.
No, I had no idea.
Much more than a free trial.
Yeah, the positive was I didn't realise I had it, but the negative was I didn't realise I've been paying for it for about a year as well. Yeah.
Great stuff. Jonathan, what about you, man? How have you found any games that really stood out to you?
I watched Man United Tottenham. That was the only one I've watched so far on it. I think it's really good actually. The Amazon Prime, in terms of you can get key moments, highlights, and you can actually sit and watch them if you've missed, say, 20 minutes during the game. I think it's quite good actually.
I heard as well you can turn the crowd noise off. What's all that about?
Yeah, I think there's mics around the ground, and you can listen into basically the crowd as opposed to the commentators, which is a bit of a novel thing. A bit bizarre, but yeah.
Maybe they should up their commentators if they don't rate them that highly. Anyway, let's look ahead to tonight's games, actually. Thursday we're recording this, so if you're watching after that, apologies, these games have already happened. But let's get into it. It's Sheffield United versus Newcastle. That's the 7:30 kick-off this evening. Jonathan, let's start with the prices that Paddy Power are putting up, and also your prediction for this game.
Sheffield United 4-5, 5-2 the draw, and 7-2 Newcastle.
And how do you think it's going to go, mate?
I'm going to go for a home win, I think. Sheffield United have looked fairly solid, resolute. They've not conceded any more than 2 goals in any match this season. I think it'll certainly be an unders game if you're looking at the goals markets in this one. And I think Newcastle did well against Man City, but City should have had the game sewn up really last Saturday. And I think I'm going to go for a home win here and sit on under 2.5 goals.
Definitely, Mark. I mean, this probably does point to a home win, as Jonathan alluded to there. But there's just something about Newcastle, that grittiness that might just get them through this, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, apart from Aston Villa, when they really didn't show much grit.
You fancied them that week, didn't
you?
And
I mean, I think sort of results either side of that Villa game have been quite good. I like Sheffield United, but I don't. There's something about like 4-5 that doesn't make me want to back them in a sort of Premier League home game. So I'm not sure. Newcastle, I think, they had their little flurry of attack, but they are better sort of. I think just sort of defending, and I think that's what they'll try to do at Sheffield United. They might be good enough to do it. I'm going to go draw.
Good stuff, Dan. Do you think Steve Bruce is going to start winning over some Newcastle fans soon?
Yeah, I think. I mean, the less harsh ones may be starting to warm to him a little bit already. You look at, I mean, they've got more points, haven't they, than they had at the same stage of last season under Rafa, who was, so popular. And I just think I actually had Newcastle down on my shortlist this week as the most overpriced in my eyes team in the midweek programme. Sheffield United, when I watch them, they rely a lot on the intensity that they play at. Now, I look at the last couple of games, last 25 minutes against Man United, there was a drop-off that nearly cost them the game. Second half against Wolves, there was a drop-off as well, where Wolves come more into the game. This is their first sort of midweek match, so it's the quickest turnaround they've had this season. So can they keep playing at that kind of intensity levels? And Newcastle, as Mark's mentioned, are a tough team to break down normally. They had the 2 set pieces that they didn't deal with well against Aston Villa, but I think if they can stay level or go in front, that suits them. They've got the pace on their counter attack with Alan Saint-Maximin, Joe Linton's. The thing they're lacking, the front players, is goals at the moment. I think if the goals start to come for those players, I mean, Saint-Maximin got a few goals in France last season. Maybe they just need one and they'll take off. Joe Linton, I think, got about 9, didn't he, in the Bundesliga last season? So maybe they're better than their stats are showing. I just think Newcastle a little bit overpriced. I'll go draw or Newcastle double chance.
Great stuff. No, I'm really looking forward to that game. The 8:15 kickoff is Arsenal versus Brighton, also, of course, on Amazon Prime. Jonathan, how are Paddy Power shaping up here?
We've got Arsenal 8-15, under to 30 the draw, and 9-2 Brighton.
Mark, we were chatting off air about Arsenal. I mean, I was at the game against Norwich last weekend, and we probably should have won that game. Arsenal look all over the shop at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think here you might get an upset. I don't know if I'm brave enough to back Brighton, but I'd definitely be against Arsenal in sort of, maybe a lay, and so going for Brighton or draw, double chance. It's not right at Arsenal at the moment. I think everybody can see that, and the crowd are pretty negative at the moment, so I'm not sure. Yeah, so I'm not sure how much home advantage. I mean, Lundberg will probably get a decent reception. I mean, he was an important player for them, but it's not going to buy him a huge amount of time. They look tactically all over the shop against Norwich. No different really to what I'd seen under Unai Emery or Arsene Wenger in the latter stages. So I think Brighton are going to go there, keep the ball. I'm not sure about them in these big games away from home, and I think that was the same under Chris Hughton as well. But they might not need to be that good. I can definitely see them frustrating Arsenal. If they start well, the Emirates is going to turn, and that then home advantage doesn't become that much of an advantage.
Jonathan, I can hear you in my ear agreeing with Mark at every point he made there. Are you also expecting a possible upset here tonight?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Arsenal look all over the place. I think going forward, they're going to cause Brighton some issues. But if Brighton can hold out for the first 30 minutes and make the crowd a little bit on edge, I think that could be the way that they're going to have to try and play this one out. I think they showed enough for me against Liverpool at the weekend that they were good enough and they will score goals. So, yeah, I do think the Arsenal defence looks pretty shaky at the moment and nothing's really changed. But we'll see in time whether Ljungberg can work his magic. But I agree with Mark on this one, I think.
Yeah, Dan, I think the problems lie deeper than Freddie Ljungberg, don't they?
You remember back last season when Arsenal, they were like didn't win the first half, first 17 games, they weren't ahead, were they, in the first half, and they kept finishing strong, Arsenal then. Now that has completely turned around in more recent times. And I watched them against Norwich. I know they won the second half against Norwich, but really it was in spite of the performance. I thought Norwich actually got stronger as the game went on, and really, if it wasn't for Bernd Leno, Norwich would have ran away with it in the second half. And I look back at recent performances, they've lost the second half, despite that winning it at Norwich. They've lost the second half in 5 of their last 8 games. You think back to the Frankfurt match where they started quite well and then completely fell apart, and there just seems to be a lack of energy about them. I don't think it's necessarily all mentally. They seem to run out of gas in games. I watched a game against when they were at Watford earlier in the season, raced into a 2-0 half-time lead, and they got absolutely battered in the second half. There's a trend there. I don't know what it is, but they don't seem as fit as they were this time last season. And you look at Brighton, they play the football, settle into games. The game at Liverpool, I know they were against 10 men in the later stages, but they actually lasted the game well and really could easily have nicked a point there. So I think there could be a similar situation here. Arsenal might fly at the blocks. They were actually, I thought it started quite bright against Norwich, the game at the weekend. I think they'll fade as it goes on. Brighton to win the second half.
You've convinced me, Dan. I know we've got a lot of Arsenal fans at home watching, so let us know your thoughts. Can Freddie Ljungberg turn it around? Right, let's get into the 12:30 kickoff this Saturday. It's Everton against Chelsea. Jonathan, how are we looking here, mate?
We've got Everton 12-5, 11-4 the draw, and Chelsea at 10-11.
Jonathan, are you surprised that Marco Silva hasn't gone yet?
Yeah, a little bit. I wasn't. I think maybe these two games were probably quite tough games for him to. Is he going to change anything if you bring a new manager in? Is it really going to alter much? I don't know. So probably best keeping him there for now. I think they played. They scored 2 goals at Anfield, but to me, yeah, I think over time, I think Silva's reign will come to an end. I think his time's only two. God.
Do you think he'll pick up a result this weekend against Chelsea?
No, unfortunately not. I can't see that happening. I think Chelsea will be too good. I think, I'm going to go for an away win here and both teams to score.
Mark, is it that simple?
It might not be that simple. If Silva goes, and you saw it with like Mourinho in at Tottenham, like the dynamic in terms of that game against West Ham, the dynamic and just the way the place is feeling just can change very quickly. Whether Everton will do it and be bold, so bold in terms of making a change, I'm not so sure. I was looking at the same bet as Jonathan, really, Chelsea to win and both teams to score, because Chelsea haven't kept an away Premier League clean sheet this season. So that's a concern, I think, if you are backing the odds on, but they've got the quality in the final third. Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham scored the first goal 6 times in the Premier League this season. So if you're looking for a first goal scorer bet, I think he's the obvious one. They've got the bigger squad if they need to rotate, and I saw that Frank Lampard did that to some extent for the win against Aston Villa. And then I look at Everton; they've lost 8 of their last 11 league matches. It's not good. It's not good, and I can't see Silva. And the only reason to keep Silva is so that the new manager gets an easier set of games, and they're going to ride him out until, and just flog him until they get the easier matches, which I think is a little bit unfair.
Yeah, Dan, it's not going too well at Everton at the moment, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, as Mark mentioned, the games they've got coming up. Chelsea, then following on from that, they've got Manchester United away, Arsenal at home. I mean, they're already in the bottom 3 now. It's looking. You get to the end of those games and you're virtually halfway point of the season. You're where you should be, really. I'm just going to play it straight here. I'll go for Chelsea to win the game. It's time of the season. There haven't been many midweek games. I think it's the first sort of batch of the season, and it's the teams that have got the squads can use the squads. Mark mentioned it about Chelsea resting players. Tomori, Jorginho, Emerson are all rested, so they're going to come in fresh. Everton, I think, are having to just play their best team at every match at the moment to try and get something. I don't think they're playing that badly in their kind of attacking play. I watched the Leicester game. They didn't play too badly. Could have easily got a draw out of that game. But, then to go and lose a derby 5-2 and have so little time to recover mentally and physically, it's a tough ask for them. Chelsea for me.
Yeah, tough times for Everton and Marco Silva at the moment. We're going to go for a quick break and we'll be back in a minute.
I'm Jose Mourinho. I know a thing or two about being special. English Manager of the Year 3 times, special. Winning the daily jackpot on Paddy Power games? Not special.
Understood, Jose. Yes, someone wins an average £40,000 jackpot every single day. So if you win, don't think you're special. Daily Jackpots by Paddy Power Games. Jackpots must be awarded by 11 p.m. and vary from day to day. Jackpot is shared with other operators. Available on selected games. T's and C's at paddypower.com. 18 plus BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome back to the Football Postcast here on the Racing Post. Myself, Jack Reeve, Mark Langdon and Dan Childs in the studio with Paddy Power's Jonathan Smith on Skype talking to us. We'll be getting straight into the 3 o'clock Saturday games. I will rattle through these ones. Jonathan, Bournemouth versus Liverpool, prices and your prediction.
Bournemouth 11-2, 7-2 the draw, and 2-5 Liverpool. I'm going to go for Liverpool winning both teams to score here. I think Klopp's beginning to rotate his team a lot. He rested Salah against Everton. He's trying to rotate ahead of this Club World Cup. They'll win a lot more for the Club World Cup than they do the League Cup, so he's going to send his focus to that. I think here against Bournemouth, they should have enough going forward to trouble the defence. Bournemouth are missing King with a hamstring injury. I think they struggled to capitalise against a 10-man Palace side who caught them on the break, really, during the week. So, I'm going to go for Liverpool winning both teams to score. And I do think Liverpool are suspect of leaking a goal. I'm going to go with that.
Mark, I think we could almost just cut the clips from each of the previous podcasts. We keep trying to find negatives in Liverpool. We feel like we found them, and yet they still keep winning.
Yeah, I think this will be easier than some of their other away matches that they've had recently, where they have scraped over the line. I mean, Crystal Palace was a tight run thing, so was Aston Villa. So I think at Anfield it's a different story at the moment. Teams, some of them are beat before they've even turned up. Everton being one of those, but Liverpool won 22 of their last 23 Premier League matches. They've only dropped points against Manchester United this season. Against Bournemouth, last 4 matches, 14-0 the aggregate score to Liverpool. And Bournemouth are not in good form. Lost their last 4, 1 win in 10. Liverpool -1 for me.
Dan, confident as well?
I think Liverpool a bit too short. I'm going to go with a draw at 7-2. Recent away games, away to Palace, nicked a 2-1 win, weren't really convincing there. Same with the Villa game. I think Fabinho's a big loss to them. And I think Bournemouth just may have, Callum Wilson's pace on the counter-attack might cause them a problem or two.
Spurs versus Burnley is the next 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. How are Paddy Power shaping up for this, Jonathan?
We've got Spurs at 4-11, 7-2 the draw, and 13-2 Burnley.
Do you think Spurs will bounce back after the midweek defeat?
Yeah, I think they will. Yeah, I think they certainly look good enough to beat Burnley at home. I think Spurs win again, and are both teams to score. I do think Tottenham again a little bit suspect at the back, but going forward, Jose Mourinho seems to have got Dele Alli back firing, which is good news for Spurs fans. And I think Burnley against City were just completely outclassed. And the defence was all over the show. They run them ragged really up front. And I've got a bit of an outside bet here, a bit of a strange market, offsides market for the game.
Okay.
Chris Wood has been offside a staggering 20 times this season.
Has he really?
6 times more than any other Premier League player. And in the last 5 meetings of these two teams, there's been 21 offsides for Burnley. So I will look at Chris Wood offsides and on the overs, and Burnley offsides as well on the overs.
I love that. Thanks, Jonathan. Mark, Spurs Burnley, what are we thinking?
Similar lines to Jonathan, but I'm going to go for Tottenham to win and over 2.5 goals, just in case Tottenham run away with it. They were 3-0 up against Bournemouth. They were 3-0 up against West Ham as well. They were terrible against Manchester United on Wednesday. I think we'll see a different team. That's Sissoko Winks midfield. I thought it had been confined to the bin by because it basically ruined Pochettino's team, and Mourinho went for it again. But they've got a very good squad, Spurs. Lo Celso and Ndombele, Ericsson, players like that were only on the bench at Old Trafford, so he can rotate it a little bit more than what Burnley are capable of doing. But Tottenham have only kept 1 clean sheet in the league this season, but they've got the front 4 or front 3, however he decides to play it, I think, to get the job done.
Does Burnley stand any chance, Dan?
They've had the extra day's rest. I can't say too many more positives really in their favour. I watched them at Watford when they won 3-0, and it sounds bizarre to say it, but they're the poorest visiting team I've seen at Watford this season. They were kind of time wasting for a draw after about the first minute. Ended up winning 3-0.
How bad were Watford then?
Watford were. So it shows you how bad Watford were. But no, I think Spurs, you just got to attack Burnley, and really, I'm sure Spurs will do that, try and overwhelm them. I think they'll win the game, but I think the bet, given our short Spurs are, is Dele Alli, obvious bet really, 13-2 to score the first goal. Looks a transformed player, 4 goals in his last 3 games.
Yeah, it's good to see Dele Alli back to his best, that's for sure. Watford versus Crystal Palace next. This is sure to be an intriguing game. Jonathan, how are Paddy Power pricing this one up?
We've got Watford at 13-10, 11-5 the draw, and 21-10 Crystal Palace.
And Jonathan, Crystal Palace, they just keep on picking up results that people don't see, don't they?
Yeah, it's bizarre. They just keep grinding results out. With 10 men, they've managed to get a win against Bournemouth. They should have really got something against the Liverpool team at home. They had enough chances in that game. And I think they probably look good value here actually. Considering Watford's troubles in terms of the search for a new manager. I'm probably going to go on away win, and I'm going to actually throw another market out there, Mihailovic to be carded. The last time that these two teams have both met, Mihailovic has been carded. And he's leading the card markets for picking up the most yellows this season. So, and my 2 bets in this one.
Mark, I saw Bruce almost skipping around the office the other day. He was very, very happy with Crystal Palace's result in the week. Do you think they'll pick up another win here?
I'm going to go for them on the draw no bet market, just because the market really likes Watford. I think these are sort of the two teams at sort of the opposite ends of the scale, where Watford actually play better than the results suggest, but are not getting anywhere with it. And Palace, you watch them and you're not quite sure what they're good at, and yet they keep on churning out results. But I think there is something to be said for it. And, as the outsiders in this game, they've won 4 of their last 5 matches against teams currently outside the top 4. They've had a really bad run of fixtures, and so their overall form doesn't look very good. But you can sort of take out the results against Man City and Liverpool and teams like that. Really, this is a completely different kettle of fish. And Watford have only won 1 game this season in the Premier League. They've only scored 9 goals. It's a huge leap of faith without a manager, and I know Dan's probably going to get onto the fact of saying that they played quite well against Leicester, but it's still a huge leap of faith to back them to actually win a game when they're not winning games. So I'll go Palace draw on a bet.
Dan, you've probably watched more of Watford than anyone here.
Yeah, and I do actually agree with the last part he said, because I can't bring myself to back them to win this game as favourites when the confidence is so low at the moment. There clearly are faults with the side as well. They've only scored 9 goals defensively. They've been poor, but they were a lot better against Leicester. The shape of the side was better. Deeney was back up front, gave a bit more balance to the attack. And Palace have got a lot of players out defensively. Look, Sacco suspended, doubts over Cahill, Scott Dan, the fullback Van Aanholt went off injured as well. So I just think they'll be focused on protecting that defence. These 2 teams are 2 of the lowest scorers in the Prem, which leads on to my tip, which is a draw. I'm going to go. Watford have scored 9. Palace have only scored 14, despite being high up in the table. Draw for me.
Brilliant stuff. And on to a very tasty fixture now. It's 5:30 on the Saturday. It's Manchester City versus Manchester United. Jonathan, I suspect Manchester City are the clear favourites here, are they?
Yeah, they sure are. Man City 2-7, 9-2 the draw, and 8-1 Man United.
Dan, what are we thinking here? Because Manchester City have been topsy-turvy all season. Manchester United picked up a good result in the week. But even so, you would suspect City to run away with this, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I expect City to run away with it as well. I forget the fact it's a derby. They're just a much, much better team than Manchester United, who played quite well against Spurs, deserved to win, although the penalty looked a bit dodgy, but we won't talk too much about that. But I think the big effort they put into that game, quite a short turnaround Wednesday, then having to play the Manchester derby at the weekend, I think they're going to pay for that. I think City, if you're not closing down the spaces, getting tight to them with your distances, they can really tear you apart. They've won 8 of their 10 Premier League wins this season have been by 2 goals or more. I see the same here, so I'm going to go Man City -1 on a handicap, but shade of odds on.
Great stuff. Jonathan, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go for a Man City win here, and Jesus anytime. I think it was brilliant against Burnley at Turf Moor the other day. And yeah, I just struggle to see Man United getting something from this. Though Rashford, to be honest, has been in very good form for Man United when he's moved him out to the left-hand side. So yeah, I think Man United might cause them some trouble on the break, but I think City will have enough to win this one. I've got City winning Jesus anytime.
Any hope for Man United, Mark?
Jesus, this time of the year, isn't it? We're coming up to that. Is there any hope for Manchester United? Well, I remember watching them get absolutely battered by City under Jose Mourinho. Paul Pogba turned up for about 5 minutes and they won. They spoiled the title celebrations, and it can happen. I don't expect it to happen this time. I was going to go for Man City half-time, full-time on the double result market. They've had, despite being where they are in the table and 11 points behind Liverpool, on expected goals they're still rated number 1. They've had the most shots in the Premier League. They've had the most shots on target. Yes, the defence is dodgy, but Newcastle's 2 goals against them last week were ridiculous. They weren't defensive errors. Just unbelievable goals, really. I think there has been a bit of bad luck, but they were back on it against Burnley. They've won 14 of their last 16 home matches in the Premier League in 2019. And also, in terms of the derby, I was just having a look at it. Manchester United tend to start quite slowly in the Manchester derby. They've conceded first in 5 of the last 6 matches. So, yes, there's a class difference, and I think it'll sort of show quite early on.
Brilliant stuff. That's certainly the big game of the weekend. Let us know how you think the Manchester derby will go down in the comment section below, or feel free to tweet us at The Racing Post or at Racing Post Sport. We're going to go for a quick break, and we'll be back in a tick.
Everything is better when it's bigger. Paddy Power's Same Game Multi allows you to combine a number of selections from a single match into one big bet. Check out the Same Game Multi tab and get building your bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome back to the Football Postcast here on the Racing Post. Myself, Jack Reeve, Mark Langdon and Dan Childs with me in the studio. And we've got Jonathan Smith from Paddy Power on the line. Let's get into the Sunday non-televised games. First of all, we've got 4 games this Sunday, so a full schedule, which looks really good. Jonathan, the first is Newcastle against Southampton. What are the prices here? And also your prediction, please.
Newcastle 8-5, 21-10 the draw, and 7-4 Southampton.
How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, difficult one to call, I think. I'm going to go for a draw here. Newcastle at home, they're hard to break down in terms of defensively. They'll be resolute. Southampton could cause them some issues, but I think, I can see it's been an under 2.5 game. I think this would be a draw, to be honest. I'm going to go for a draw on this one.
Feels tricky to call this, isn't it, Mark?
It is. I think the Thursday, Sunday, quick turnaround for Newcastle. Obviously, we're speaking before that game on Thursday. You don't know if they're going to pick up any injuries, but they have only lost 3 of their last 15 home matches, Newcastle, which for a team that, that we're associating with being sort of wrong half of the Premier League, that's pretty strong going. 4 of their 7 this season, though, have ended in draws, and I think we could be heading for another one. I'm going for the draw as well. As regular listeners will know, I'm quite a big Southampton fan, and I can never seem to get them right. I think go off them, and then they'll start winning their matches. I do think they're in a false position, and I think they've got a good manager and some good players, and I think that they're probably a team that will improve in 2020.
Dan, is it going to be a clean sweep of draws?
No, I'm going to go for Newcastle. I'm a little bit worried about that. I don't like often backing teams that have had one day's less rest after a midweek game, but I just think the prices are a little bit too big really for Newcastle. As Mark mentioned, the home form, the last 2 home games as well, they've come from behind to win at home to Bournemouth 2-1. Similar sort of standard of opponent, I think, to Southampton. Played well against City. I mean, the shot count I know was against them, but they were competed really well in the game, came from behind twice to get the result. And I just think Southampton have had a couple of wins, but I watched the game against Watford. I mean, they weren't spectacular in that game. Got away with a decision, the non-VAR one that was seen towards the end. And against Norwich, they started well, but they were hanging on really towards the end of that game. Saw Matt Letizia sort of tweeted "phew" at the final whistle, when it was over. So I just think Newcastle a little bit overpriced.
Yeah, not fully sold on Southampton either. The next game, 2 o'clock on the Sunday, is Norwich versus Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United were the only team that Norwich didn't beat at all last season, so hopefully they can get a bit of a revenge this time around. Jonathan, what are Paddy Power's prices looking like for this?
Norwich 15-8, 23-10 the draw, and Sheffield United 11-8.
Bit short, Sheffield United, Mark?
I think so, given it's the Thursday, Sunday turnaround. I mean, Dan mentioned earlier on in the postcast that Sheffield United haven't got a huge squad and they rely on like a core group of players, and so that the hectic period may count against them. I was looking at both teams to score. I mean, you have got to respect the fact that Sheffield are unbeaten in 16 away matches, which is a really strong run of form. But 7 of the last 10 have ended in score draws, so they're not keeping as many clean sheets as you think, but they are scoring goals. And Norwich, 7 home Premier League games this season. You've been to, I suppose, all of them.
Yeah.
A lot of goals, 30 in total. This is a game where I think Farke will think, we've got to attack because we need to win.
Yeah, I'm certainly getting money's worth my season ticket. Jonathan, Sheffield United getting the plaudits, and rightly so this season.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I just think they've been hard and resolute in terms of across all the teams, matches that they've had this season. I think Norwich, Pukki seems to have just got his form back a little bit. So I'm gonna go for a draw here. But I think Pukki, any time he looks back to sort of his best that he showed in the first 6 or 7 games this season. So yeah, I'm going to actually go for a draw, I think, in this.
Yeah, Dan, I was worried that the Pukki party had ended, but I think we've all been invited to the after party now, haven't we? It's back on.
I rate him a hell of a lot. It's not just his goals. When you watch Norwich play more, as you've seen him more in the Premier League, outside of the box as well, and his touch and his vision in bringing other players into the game, I think if he had pace, he'd be one of the best strikers in the Premier League. I just think here, with a game coming at the end of a busy period for Sheffield United, I think it is going to play a little bit more into Norwich's hands. Got the extra day. They're playing a bit better now, and the games against Everton, Arsenal, second half at Southampton played okay. I think they're slightly more likely to win this game. look at last season, very similar squads, got more, finished more points, didn't they, in the Championship? Yeah, 15-8, Norwich for me.
Great stuff, Dan. Wasn't expecting that. On to Super Sunday now. Aston Villa versus the high-flying Leicester City. Jonathan, are Leicester going to continue their magical run at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. We've got match prices for this. Villa 130, 3-1 the draw, and 8-11 Leicester. And I think they're going to carry on this unbelievable run that they're on currently.
Leicester doing magically well, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They really are. I mean, it helps when you get pens. Like they even when they miss them, they get them retaken. That does help. But I was really frustrated last week because the bet I put up was draw half-time, Leicester full-time. And, of course, they were losing. It was all about how Leicester grow into games and are much better in the second half and they end up losing the first half and still winning the game. So I can't give myself half a point for being kind of right. But I'm going to go for it again. I think draw half-time, Leicester full-time, double result. Villa, of course, had a really hard game against Chelsea on Wednesday night. Leicester have got that youthfulness about them, that they are growing into matches and they do keep going. 25 second half goals so far. He's got game changers on the bench as well, Brendan Rodgers. And if you have a look at it, they've been drawing at half time before winning in 4 of their last 5 Premier League matches. So I think there's like this growing trend now where teams really are giving them a lot of respect. And we saw that with Everton move into a back three, deny them space, and then I hope that you can sort of nick something on the break. But they're finding ways to win. I'm not sure how sustainable it is. I've got a little bit of stick for keep saying that on here, but they are sort of shooting the lights out numbers-wise in terms of their ultra-efficient forward play, which I don't think will continue, but it might do here.
Well, you gave yourself half a mark last week. Let's hope it's a full mark this week. Dan, we've heard all about Leicester City and how they play. What have we made of Aston Villa this season?
I'm more and more impressed with Aston Villa the more I see them. At the start of the season, I thought with all the changes they made, there's kind of risk of them being another Fulham, if you like, bringing in too many players or a lot of money that might not be the right players. But actually, a lot of the buyers, I like the look of Engels at centre-back. He was suspended at Chelsea and they missed him. I think he's back now, so that's a big boost for them. And I think defensively, you look at they've played a lot of the top teams. They've not got absolutely battered, really, by any of those teams. And I don't know, I just think with Mings and Engels, it's a pretty good partnership at the back, and Villa Park is not an easy place to go. I watch a lot of their home games and they've lost 1 of the last 7. That was against Liverpool where they were winning, weren't they, going into the last few minutes of the game. So it's not an easy game for Leicester to win this. I've watched both their last 2 games live. I weren't that impressed with them against Everton. They did grow into that game with better second half after Iheanacho come on, but I weren't that impressed with them against Watford either in the week. I think they are overperforming. I would say where Leicester are going to finish at the end of the season right now, I'd say 4th. I think Chelsea and Manchester City will finish above them. I think they'll drop off. And I think this is a game to oppose them. Villa or draw, double chance for me. Great
stuff. I think they'd probably still take 4th if you'd have offered them at the start of the season, though. On to the 4:30 game. Let's quickly get through this because we've already talked about Brighton and there's a few fancies in the room for Brighton. They take on Wolves at 4:30 on Sunday. Jonathan, the prices and your prediction, mate.
We've got Brighton at 13-8, 2-1 the draw, and 7-4 Wolves. Here I'm going to go for a draw. I think probably they cancel each other out. Both teams going forward are very good and defensively look solid. Brighton have had some errors defensively against Liverpool in terms of marking basic stuff from corners. But I think Wolves were very good against West Ham. And I think Silva's sort of got his front three of Jimenez, Traore and Jota. And I think they're probably going to cause them some issues on the counter-attack. But I do think this probably has got a draw written all over it for me.
Dan, what about you?
I think Wolves are one of these teams that are just as good away often as they are at home because of the way they play counter-attacking. For that reason, I would take the kind of extra price that you get in there for it being a away game. I think 7-4 is reasonable. They've got extra days rest. Brighton have got to go to Arsenal and then play on the Sunday. And I just think Wolves have got better attackers as well. You look at Jota, Jimenez, who've been doing it for a while. I really like Traore as well recently. He's completely... looks like the penny's dropped with him now. He is starting to find a killer ball or a finish. So, Wolves for me.
Mark?
Yeah, I'd go Wolves draw no bet. I think recent history in this fixture isn't great. If you're looking forward to your Super Sunday, the last 9 have all been under 2.5 goals. And I think that the way that Wolves played then, Brighton will probably do a lot of the work in front of them and have a lot of the ball, but it's whether they can hurt Wolves. And I was looking at Wolves, they've only lost 2 league games all season. They're kind of flying under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tremendous effort given the Europa League, and most people sort of thought that would be a problem for them. And I think it was at the start, but they seem to have worked it out a little bit. They've also scored in 26 of their 28 matches in all competitions this season. So generally find a path to goal. And if they score in this game, given the sort of trends, I don't think they'll lose.
Great stuff. Monday night football, it's West Ham against Arsenal, 2 teams who are just struggling a little bit at the moment. How are Paddy Power looking for this one, Jonathan?
West Ham 5-2, 3-1 the draw, and 5-6 Arsenal.
5-6 for Arsenal. Are you going to be taking that on?
Oh, I probably will do. Yeah. Arsenal's away form in this calendar year has been not the greatest, to say the least. 16 matches, they've only won 4, drawn 4, and 8 defeats. I think West Ham might have a chance here. They just need to hope that Haller has a good game up front and links up well with Felipe Anderson. But yeah, I think West Ham have a slight chance here. So I'll go West Ham or draw on the double chance.
Mark, I follow quite a few West Ham fans on Twitter, and none of them seem that keen on Haller anymore. What's happened to him?
I think he's really isolated up front. The sort of plays like 4-1-4-1 formation. Certainly have when I've watched him, and he's on his own. When he played for Eintracht Frankfurt, he had Rebic and Luka Jovic alongside him, and that's a big difference. Yeah. I think West Ham. I'm going to go for West Ham here. I mean, there's got to be better opportunities to back an odds-on away shot than Arsenal. They were outplayed for large parts of that game against Norwich, and I think West Ham are better than Norwich. And so if you're getting outplayed by Norwich, why can't you buy West Ham? Oh, Bruce Millington, an apology, because he put up West Ham against Chelsea last week, and I was just saying, no, just can't see it. But they have got that in their game, West Ham. I mean, if you have a look at it, the last 16 games, so since the start of last season, 16 matches against the Big Six in the Premier League, they've won 5. Now, for a mid-table team, I think that's a pretty good effort and shows you they are capable of raising their game. Arsenal don't like their trips to West Ham. They've only won 1 of the last 6. Going back since Christmas 2017, Arsenal have played 35 Premier League away games. They've kept 3 clean sheets. So if you're backing them at 5-6, you're assuming they're going to score at least 2, possibly 3. That's not for me. Even though West Ham have chucked it in a few times this season, it's not for me. I mean, there's got to be better 5-6 shots.
Not a lot of love for Arsenal here, Dan, is there?
No, I've not got a lot of love for either team, really. Just the way they're playing. I really struggle. This is the game I've struggled with most over the weekend. At first, I wanted to try and get against Arsenal because, odds on the way they're playing away from home. I thought, but then I look at West Ham. Apart from that Chelsea game, in the last 2 months, they've absolutely stunk the place out, haven't they? I mean, you struggle to think of another performance in the last 2 months where they've actually.
How much do you think that was down to the goalkeeper? Because obviously they have taken
Partly
out
the goalkeeper,
they've taken out Roberto for
defensively a little bit, but I don't know. I still think going forward, Haller, the way they play, I don't think he's mobile enough at the moment. Unless they get and they're missing Antonio. Antonio's come in. But he was injured, and he was missed the game at Wolves for injury. I think if you're going to back West Ham, you've got to wait and see, from my point of view, if Antonio's fit, because without him at the moment, there's just no mobility up front there. And I still think they'll probably score because Arsenal are so bad at the back. So that leads on to my tip, which is Arsenal to win and both teams to score. I think if Antonio doesn't make it, not enough for West Ham up front to win. But they'll probably score. But Arsenal have got, you've got Aubameyang, Lacazette, you have got goals in the side. And against West Ham's defence, which apart from Chelsea has looked weak, I think Arsenal and BTS for me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at them players that Arsenal have going forwards, and I expected something a bit more from them going forwards against Norwich last week, but it wasn't to be for them. Who knows what will happen in that game on Monday night between West Ham and Arsenal. Right, let's get into the gents' other fancies for the week. Jonathan, any other teams you like the look of?
I think Bristol Rovers at home to Southend this weekend look good at 4-7. I think that should be putting most people's hackers. I'm going to actually go to Australia, which is a bit of a bizarre one. Melbourne City home to Perth Glory in the A-League. I think 11-10 on Melbourne City represents a bit of value. Perth have been really struggling. They've only scored 7 goals in 7 games this season. And are propping up the league. So I think Melbourne City, they've looked pretty good when I've watched them. So yeah, I'll go with them at 11-10.
Bristol to Australia. Certainly getting the air miles in there, Jonathan. Very nice. Callum, my good friend here at the Racing Post, is a Southend fan. I think he's had a very miserable season so far. They certainly haven't looked too good. Dan, any other fancies, mate?
The one in Europe, I'll go to Italy for Inter. A shade of odds on at home to Roma. I respect Roma having a good season, but Inter are doing really fantastic under Antonio Conte. 12 wins out of 14. Roma's away record looks kind of seductively good. 1-4, drawn 2, lost 1. You look at where the wins have come though. Bologna, Lecce, Udinese, Verona. They're not really big guns of Italian football. They have lost to Parma and lost to Borussia Mönchengladbach away in the Europa League. So I think Roma there Inter there are a good price. The other one I'd say I fancy in the Football League, I got a League 2. Plymouth at 13-8 to win away to Cambridge. I would say that I would quite fancy him to win this game. Cambridge, a mid-table team at the moment. I don't see them finishing a great deal higher. Plymouth, I think, are a big fish in League 2. Since that 4-0, they had a shocking result. The derby is such a big game to them. Exeter lost 4-0. You're wondering how they're going to respond. Well, they've won 1-0 at Forest Green away and won 2-1 at home to Bradford. Great response. I think they'll carry on here and win at Cambridge.
Mark?
I've got quite a few. Portsmouth, they're going really well at the moment to beat Peterborough. They've won 7 of the last 9, Pompey. I just think with Peterborough,
Scoring goals.
they score goals, but I think that makes them sort of flat track bullies, really. And this is a really difficult game against a Portsmouth team that even in the 2 games they didn't win in this hot spell, they were really good, actually. They should have beat Bristol Rovers and they should have beat Oxford. I like Bolton to beat AFC Wimbledon, apart from that 7-1 against Accrington last time out. I mean, they had a player sent off when they were winning. Bolton had won 3 in a row before that, so I think they are on the right track. I totally agree with Dan on Plymouth. I'd go draw no bet. Cambridge have had no shots on target in the last 2 matches. I'm just going to chuck one out. I did like Swindon to win at Grimsby. The price has collapsed, but thankfully Owen Doyle to score 2 or more remains at 13-2. There's also a bit of 40s around for the hat-trick. He's got played 20 games this season for Swindon. 5 times he scored at least twice. So that's 1 in 4. Even by my maths, that makes the 13-2 a decent price. He's done that in both of his last 2 away matches. He's got 10 more goals than any other player in League 2. If Swindon do sort of follow the gamble against Grimsby, there's probably only one man that's going to be getting the goals, and that's Owen Doyle. Come on, Doyley.
If you need an agent, Owen, then he's sitting just here.
He might be getting a move in January because he's only on loan, isn't he?
Good stuff. Right, let's get into the gents' naps then.
This will not be beaten.
Now, I was monitoring the Racing Post Twitter account notifications through the week, and I believe a certain Bruce Millington let down the naps.
Really, yeah. Nottingham Forest, they did have 32 shots.
They did. So I'm just going to stay out of it this week, and I'll let you boys get the flack if it all goes wrong. Jonathan, your nap of the week, my friend.
I'm going to go for Doncaster Rovers at home against Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes have been in a bit of rotten form, and I think, Doncaster, they should have enough to beat them here. I know it's slightly short, 47, but I think we're going to go for Doncaster Rovers this weekend.
Doncaster, solid choice. Dan?
I'm going to go for a QPR, who haven't won in 7 games, to win at home to 6th place Preston in the Championship. But hear me out, I thought QPR played a lot better at Derby last weekend, drew 1-1. They've got good attacking players as well. Abere Eze, Jordan Hugo, Naki Wells, all doing well for them. Bit dodgy at the back, but I think they'll be possibly not as dodgy as Preston are at the back in this game because of the injuries Preston have got. Pat Bauer, he's ruled out earlier this week. He's joined Ben Davies, Darnell Fisher, Tom Clark on the injury list. They've lost the last 3 games without scoring, so I think they're trying to protect that injury hit defence and maybe not offering as much going forward. Their away record isn't great anyway. 1-2, drawn 2, lost 5 away from home. So QPR, buoyed by that good performance at Derby to win here. Doncaster, QPR and Mark.
Yeah, I love the fact that Chelsea's on first name terms with Patrick Bauer. You can Pat. But I'm going to go odds on at home, but I think Oxford to beat Shrewsbury looks a very solid bet. Oxford did play in the EFL Trophy on Wednesday night, a game that they drew and then lost on penalties. But in terms of sort of their main aim for the season, it wouldn't be that. And they're unbeaten in 10 in League One. They've won 7 of those, scoring loads of goals. I think Shrewsbury are, just a really average, and that's not a bad thing to be an average League One team. I think that's sort of where Shrewsbury are and where they should be. Oxford have got much grander ambitions.
Oxford, I like the look of them too. Jonathan, I believe Paddy Powell will be enhancing that treble for our viewers, won't they?
Yeah, it will be later on today. Yep, that will be up on site.
Great stuff. Well, thanks to Dan, thanks to Mark, and thanks to you, Jonathan, on the line. Be sure to tune in to the Racing Postcast tomorrow with Bruce and the team previewing a brilliant weekend ahead of the racing. Thanks to the gents. Thanks to you for watching at home, and we'll be back again next week. Good luck with your bets. Gamble responsibly, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log in to your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.